Okay. We have enough for a quorum, and I will call the meeting of the Irvington Architecture Review Board to order. The normal procedure would be to go through continuations, then on to new matters. I understand that the continuation did not hand in any new material, so at this point, the ARB 18-17 we will skip. We will go on to ARB, new matter, ARB 1818, 125 North Broadway Solar. I would ask when you come up to the microphone to please announce who you are and who you represent. Great. At this point, however, I will recuse myself because I'm a neighbor of this property, and I will ask Deb Hargraves to run this portion of the meeting.
We can stay in the same seats. Oh, you have to step down?
Yeah. I don't have to, but it's good.
Okay. Alrighty.
My name is Nicholas Lugowski. I work with Infinity Solar Systems, and we are proposing that we put 20 solar panels on the rear and 12 solar panels on the front roof of a residential home located at 125 North Broadway.
Okay, so why don't we just go through the application first so we know that everything's in order.
Great.
I see that you submitted, got the affidavits. Did you notify, I see you've got the attachment here, did you notify the neighbors?
We did.
You did. And do you have proof of the?
I sent an affidavit in
Okay.
with a list of all the neighbors that we had dropped off we just pretty much drew up I guess a document that said what we're going to be doing, and then if they had any problems, then they can come to tonight's meeting.
And did you mail it or?
No, we just dropped it off. I actually had one of our guys out there.
Dropped it off?
We just dropped it off.
I mean, you mean in a mailbox
yeah, in a
or under
mailbox.
the door?
No, just in the mailbox, yeah.
Not through the mail, but dropped it?
We physically put it into the mailbox.
You put it in mailbox, okay.
And there was I think there was only 3 though, so.
Okay, do you happen to recall which?
It was the left neighbor, the right neighbor, and then there was an apartment across the street, and then there is no neighbor behind.
Okay, and and in terms of the apartment across the street, which is the neighbors I'm most concerned with because those panels will face those neighbors.
Sure.
Do you recall who you?
Unfortunately, it wasn't me who dropped it off, so.
Okay.
I can find out for you though. And
yeah, I think
whatever's easiest.
I'm happy to go forward and just talk to you further about the application, but for purposes of meeting what's required under the code, we will need to see that because I need to make sure that the neighbors across the street know that those solar panels are going in and we give them an opportunity to comment to the extent they wanted to. And because you didn't mail them and you don't have proof of service or any type of affidavit, I'd ask you to bring that in next time. We weren't able to actually I would suggest to you wouldn't want to take a vote tonight, but let's keep going just so you know, because I noticed you gave it to us, the affidavit blank, and that's the reason why I was asking.
Oh,
it was attached to the rest of the packet that was
Oh,
submitted.
the original affidavit?
Yeah.
It was.
And in terms of, I drove by the house and I took a look at it. I spent some time, and one of the first things I should say that I noticed is the house didn't seem to be in great shape. It seemed to be in poor condition. I take it you've looked at the house and
Yes.
walked around it. Maybe it's a crazy question, but can that roof support that many panels?
The framework underneath the roof is going to be replaced, so we will be doing a re-roof on that as well.
Oh, you are?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the house is like you said, the house is in poor shape.
Your company's doing the reroofing?
Yes, we will be.
Okay, so you're gonna what else are you doing? So you're gonna re-roof it and
That's
put
what
the
we
panels?
put the panels on.
Okay. And in terms of how many panels you selected, it struck me that you had quite a few, 32 for a house of this size. Are you able to tell us why so many panels and
Well, we
how much
designed all of our
electricity?
systems to 100% offset,
Uh-huh.
so a system that size, I have the schematics here. It's it's a little under 12 kW system, which is not totally out of the ordinary for a house that size.
Meaning that you have more than you need, or?
But we have exactly how many we need. We could fit more, as you can see on the front of the roof and on the back. I don't think we can fit more on the back, but on the front of the roof we can fit more, but we don't need any.
Is 12 kilowatts the average that this house is using, or is it average?
It really depends more so on the homeowner than it does on the size of the house and how energy efficient they really are. So in this case, it's an older house. The appliances are older. They will be using more energy.
And is it owner occupied or is it rented?
It's owner occupied.
Okay, and can you tell me a little bit about like the color that you selected for the solar panels and how
Yeah,
that?
the solar panels are a straight black with black trim, and the mounting is also black. So, keeping it as flush as we can.
Do you know how far those panels come off the roof?
They don't exceed 6 inches from the maximum height of the panels.
Now, in terms of, again, the number of panels you selected and the location, it looks like on the back you have the most, I'm just looking for the photo, the most number,
It's right here.
yeah, the most number of
Can you
panels
see
you
it?
can fit, so that's the maximum?
That's the maximum on the backs.
Okay.
And then on the front, we have to keep it within, there's a fire guidelines is what we call them. There has to be walkways and ventilation available for the firefighters, so that's how many we could fit.
Okay. Now, had you considered not putting the panels in the front?
I mean, it's always an option. The homeowner didn't seem to have a problem with it. Actually, I know the homeowner doesn't have a problem with it. And like I said, our goal is always to achieve maximum offset with your utility bill, so that's why they're on the front as well.
My personal concern, of course, aside from the aesthetics, which is what we're charged with to make sure
course.
it's also something that, there's a balance here that's struck, is potential glare that those panels could have on the street, on the neighbors across the street. Have you taken any of that into
We've
consideration?
never really had any kind of an issue with glare. Glare and noise have been brought up at other meetings. Actually, the only other time I could think of it was when we had a 300 panel ground mount going on a farm, and they did testing, we did testing, and there was no glare to the road at all.
But you can't say that there's not going to be glare on the road here. There's the neighbors across the street, and then there's Broadway. So I'm kind of worried about the traffic and any additional, inconvenience to people driving by to have glare on, in their faces as they drive by. But have you done a solar glare assessment ever for any projects?
All of our equipment is certified. We never really ran into a problem like that. We have the UCC certified, and that's pretty much it. All the panels that we install, like I said, they're jet black. You can see a bit of a glare even on this picture here, but nothing that would really be shining into someone's eyes and be blinding them.
Yeah, I'm not so much concerned about blinding. One of the concerns I have personally is that, the Broadway corridor is the entrance to the village, and it's an important, welcome, so to speak. There's only been one house on Broadway that has panels that face Broadway, similar to the front-facing panels you have here. But in that house, there's shrubbery in the front, so you can't actually see the panels, and there's also not a neighbor across the street. So there is one example on Broadway where they allowed it. In fact, this board allowed it. But this is something different. You don't have any barrier in the front, and you have an apartment building complex across the street.
Correct.
So would the homeowner consider not putting those panels in the front and still achieving what they're hoping to with the panels in the back?
We haven't brought it up with the homeowner yet. Like I said, we signed them up with however many panels they need is how many we put up there. So I'm sure he wouldn't be thrilled with the idea, but like you said, it's not up to him at this point. It's really more up to you guys.
I think I feel the same way. I mean, I know you have a lot of panels on the back, and I'm not sure what the, actual evaluation would be in terms of need, but I know that there's no shade trees that would be blocking it.
Correct.
You'd get, you would miss, a little bit of the east sun, but you would certainly get south facing and then the sun setting in the west. And I think it is a detraction. It's a double-edged sword because I believe in solar, but I think that not even just the building across the street, I think all the homeowners in that line, they have, they're not technically contributing, but they are contributing in that it is the entree to our village, and
I think if anything,
I just think it would really, on this particular house, it's a vintage house, it's really beautiful, and
It's not in the greatest.
I know it's
condition of
not
the
in great
house.
shape. I
And
know
think if
it's-
anything, it would probably make the house stand out a little bit more in a good way.
well, I don't really think that.
Okay.
That you'll ever get
I
us
mean,
to
you
say
can look
that.
at it. I mean, I'm sure you have the pictures over there, of what it looks like on the side and on the front.
I went to see it. No,
Oh.
I know exactly what it looks like, so.
And was it possible, did you also look at whether you could put solar panels on that garage? I know it's much lower than the height of the roof.
Because of the height differential and the blockage of the sun, we won't be able to,
yeah, I don't think-
you wouldn't be able to take advantage of it.
Yeah, even the back, that's what I was thinking.
Exactly, yes.
Is that really true? I mean, on that western exposure, if you kept them tight to northern edge, you might only lose 3 panels. Like the pitch difference is like from a, it's not in full shadow for the bulk of the day.
Exactly.
Like if you put, no, it's not. So if you put, like say a 6-panel array pushed to the north, I guess that would be northwest corner, that doesn't sit in shade.
Well, the thing would be, we would still have to abide by the fire setback, so it would still have to be 3 feet and then 18 inches from the top.
Why would that be the case? Because you're not maintaining that on the rear. So
It's
could
just
you
like-
access it from the front?
You
We're
need
thinking
access
if
from
you
the
did
front.
them
Any
all
panels
facing
that
west.
Are on the roof, on the front of the house, you need to have 2 fire access points.
I
So if
understand.
we put them here as well, we would have to have 2 for this roof, and then 2 for this roof as well.
No, I'm suggesting if your access point is the front roof with no solar panels at either so the east side is your access point for fire no matter what, because you're not maintaining like the 3-foot access on the western side. So if you were to put like a 6-panel array on the northwest corner, and then you could access from the front, wouldn't you only be losing a couple panels and then you wouldn't have anything seen from Broadway?
Yeah.
Because it's not.
These are all definite possibilities. Like I said, we designed it this way.
No, I understand the maximum. Well, if that was,
Mhm.
I mean,
I'm not sure if it's going to be a make or break point for the homeowner, unfortunately. I wasn't the guy.
I'm just making a suggestion for the maximum array and the betterment of the view in general. So everyone, of course, wants to, promote the energy source, but in the same respect, like make things look good. So
Mhm.
I think the further you can do to pull that to the western side would be better. I don't know if is there, since I'm not sure if the house isn't true north, right? It's a little,
No, it's not.
it's a little kick
It is.
this direction.
Yes. We would have to, I mean, like you said, if we wanted to, we could try to put 6 panels down here.
No, I'm suggesting 6 panels here.
Oh, up here?
I'm
West.
suggesting 6
Oh,
panels
okay.
west.
All
This doesn't-
everything on the back
Nobody likes
side.
anything here.
Okay,
That's what I'm
I got you.
just saying, if you can maximize what's accessible to the north,
On the rear, okay.
even if it is less, I can't remember what's a better, minus due south or something that moves with the sun all day long, if west is better than east.
West is technically, it is slightly better than east, it is.
So maybe I would say maybe there's a loss factor to losing a couple different panels, but maybe if they slid all to the west, then everybody's happy. Maybe.
Sure.
I would suggest if you're amenable to it, that if you could go back to the homeowner and have that conversation, it would go a great way to making us feel that we're accomplishing both goals here, which is to provide the homeowner with the energy he's looking for, savings, as well as to protect the residents across the street and the possible glare also on the motors that go down the corridor, and protect the visual entrance of Broadway corridor leading into the village. So if you could do that, and then when you come back, if you could bring evidence that you notified,
Okay.
especially the residents who would be facing the solar panels, in case they do, have an objection to the glare, and they know they may have more information to provide you with why they're concerned.
Okay, sure thing.
Because I'd appreciate it. And we'll see, we'll be back here in 2 weeks. If you could come back, we can
Yeah, that's fine.
have that conversation.
Not a problem.
I
And so,
appreciate your time.
where we're leaving it up, just so I have everything straight in line, so no panels on the front.
We'd like you to ask the homeowner to consider that, and
Right.
in exchange, put more panels on the west side. And hopefully, if you could take a look at the energy needs of the house, considering the size, maybe that'll meet the needs as well.
For sure.
Thanks again.
Will do. Thank you.
Two seconds to get some paperwork. Okay. Last but not least, ARB 18-19, 12 Beechwood Road. Rick?
Evening. We have Stephen Bassini, the architect representing the Hirshheimers at 12 Beechwood Road. We're here tonight to present, I'm here tonight to present a deck reconstruction, demolition of the existing, reconstruction of a new, slightly larger deck. It was gone to the zoning board to request a variance for rear yard, which was granted, and planning board approval as well. We're here before you to discuss this deck here in the rear yard. It is, the house, obviously, as you can see, is offset over to the left, to the west of the site, as is the property next door that came to you recently also last year. I presented for a deck on that one as well. The deck is screened in the back by these bushes here, and the house is actually down pretty low over here. So there's a nice screening here, and this has about 100-foot offset to that deck, and then this has about 100 foot to the property line, and probably about another 75 feet to the house. So it is separated from anyone in the front here, obviously screened in the back, and I don't believe that there's any issues here. No one came out to any of the ZBA or planning board meetings to show any interest. So what we're presenting is basically a reconstruction of the existing, it's the same level, same elevation, same location of the stairs. All we're doing is extending the deck out further. The issue is that the property slopes down severely in the back, and they really never had an opportunity to use that yard because it's just too steep. So they really want to be able to entertain the children a little older now, and they have company over, and they would like to actually maximize the use of the backyard. So we're extending it out 5 feet, reconstructing the entire deck. There'll be pressure-treated lumber, 6x6 posts, concrete footings. The deck material is going to be Trex. They'd like to use the higher quality of the Trex Transcend. We propose a vintage lantern, which is to match sort of the color of the house, or the color on the deck is now, which is the dark brown. And then the railing supposed to be, sorry, it's sort of a mixture of rainbow here, but it's the top color. It's going to be the charcoal spindles and also cap rail, similar to that right there. There's the new lighting basically we're proposing out in here would be these sconces. It's a Corinthian bronze, 100-watt bulb. It's not colored, the glass, it's just basically like pitted. They really want to try and maximize the light out of that deck, obviously, for entertaining in the evenings. And again, like I said, the stairs are coming down to the same exact location that they always were here, which meets up with the driveway, little small stone retaining walls. This house was before you last year or a year and a half ago as well for some modifications. There used to be a sliding glass door, and I think they actually, yeah, this is a sliding glass door. They took that out, patched up some windows. I think they actually moved the sliding glass door over there. But basically, this elevation hasn't changed, and there's no plan to change the elevation. It's really just the deck. Underneath right now, there's this storage structure that they'd like to take out and really just free up underneath. So what they're going to be doing now is where they have this brown painted stucco foundation, they're going to make sure that that's brown painted stucco to match all the way through, and we're just going to plant some shade grass into there, hopefully see where it grows.
You answered all my questions. I don't know if anybody else.
Is the present deck just painted? Is it like
Yes.
painted, pressure treated?
Yes. Stain, I believe it is.
To match the-
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But it's the same color as what's going in. This one.
Almost, yes, it's close, yeah.
Okay. Well, you've obviously been in front of us, before because you brought the lighting that we always ask about, so appreciate that. Questions, please?
Yeah. Beautiful plan, very thorough.
Thank you.
Do I have a motion to approve? Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks very much.
See you, good luck. Any interest in the drawings back?
Yes, thanks. Fires for next winter. Anybody else?
You never know.
Thank you.
This one.
There's. Children like to draw in the back.
I just think she has such a short amount of time, but as well she wrote. Anybody have any other issues, questions, concerns? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?